Good day everyone. So as to continue my video presentation, I am once again Richie S. Ramirez and I'll be discussing the chapter 14, which is the expanded VBs or expanded verb phrases. Now for the learning objectives, we have after reading the chapter 14, you should walk away having mastered the following ideas and skills. Number 1. Identify shifted objects and explain how split VPs account for them. Number 2. Draw the tree for participle constructions, prepositional distransitives, and double object distransitives. And lastly, number 3. Explain how passives and actives have different sectional properties for the functional category that assigns accusative case. The discussion in these chapters is going to be more open-ended. Do not expect a perfect answer or even an answer that can be considered right. Instead, our discussion will consider some major lines of thought about these more difficult topics. Number 1, we have the problem of the transitive verbs. In chapters 2 and 8, we discuss a number of the transitive verbs such as put of subcategory V, DP, DP, and PP, give of subcategory V, DP to DP or DP/PP, and tell of subcategory V, DP, DP, CP, DP. In many cases, the third argument of these verbs seems to function like a complement, aside from the fact that it is not immediately adjacent to the verb. For example, no adjunct may intervene between the two post-verbal DP arguments of the verb give. We have number 1A. Josh gave Clay carefully a book. We have number 1B. Josh gave Clay a book carefully. This follows from the fact that X-bar theory requires trees to be strictly binary branching. So the place to attach this second complement is a mystery. If you see this illustration right here, even if we were to allow ternary branching as in number 3, a different problem emerges. In 3, the two DPs C command one another. Thus, we might expect a symmetry between them in terms of binding relationships. We have here another illustration. As you can see, the indirect object Justin can bind a direct object anaphor, but the reverse is not possible. If the structure of the sentence were just like number 3, then the anaphor should be able to appear in either position because the two DPs symmetrically C-command one another. We have 4A. Brianna showed Justin himself in the mirror. Number 4B. Brianna showed himself Justin in the mirror. These facts show that in terms of C-command relationships, the two DPs must be in a configuration. Let's proceed to the next part. The active voice, head, and other light verbs. In this section, let's flesh this claim out a bit by looking at the pattern of morphology found in a lot of the world's languages. Another illustration right here. In 6A, it is in Japanese. In 6B, it is in Yaki. And in 6C, it is in Malagasy. We see that certain simple verbs in English correspond to morphologically complex structures in these languages. These each consist of at least a verb root and some other morpheme that speakers report as either agentivity or making the root into a full verb. A number of scholars have suggested that even in English, agentive verbs are bimorphemic. There is a verb root that indicates the lexical meaning of the word and a light verb that roughly means cause. So a verb like a clean really means something like to cause to be clean. So if we take a verb like clean, this is really composed of the meaning V, meaning cause, which assigns the agent role and takes a VP as a complement. We will refer to the theta role assigned to this VP as predicate. The lexical root, square root of clean, which takes place the theme as a complement. So the tree for the sentence Ryan cleaned the window contains a VP dominating a VP. The subject DP moves for the usual case and EPP results. In order to create the verb clean out of the cause and clean, there is a wet head movement of the V into the V category. This verb movement is sometimes called short verb movement or V to V movement. Let's consider how this might extend to the transitives. It is a simple matter to substitute little v and big V in for the verb and X in number 5, giving the illustration here in number 9. Head movement of the V to small v gives the correct spell-out order. Josh gave Clay a book. It also accounts for the asymmetric C-command effects between the two post-verbal diffs. There are, however, a number of problems with this analysis still. One thing that is a bit of a mystery is how case gets assigned to the two entities, especially the one that is labeled DP1 in number 9. Now let's move on to part number 3, which is object shift. So the following pair of sentences with embedded infinitive clauses from two dialects of Irish show an interesting alteration in the position of the object and in the case marking of the object. Sentence 10a represents the order of elements in the northern dialects of Irish, mainly Ulster. You will note that the object appears before the verb and the participle al and bears accusative case. The case we normally associate with being the complement to the verb. In this sentence 10b, which is found in Literary Irish and in Southern Munster Irish, by contrast, the object appears after the verb, but it takes a genitive case marking. So here's the illustration of number 10, A and B. So both these sentences are surprising. As we've seen in earlier chapters, Irish seem to typically put its heads before its complements. With this in mind, displays the expected word order, but we got an expected genitive case marking on the object. 10a has the opposite problem. The order of the verb and its complement DP are reversed from what we had expect in a head initial language, but the object at least bears the correct case. This kind of alteration, known as object shift, is not a esoteric property of Irish. It is found in a wide variety of languages. Take the embedded clauses below taken from German, the data from DC 1992, in particular focus on order of negation and the DP referring to the cat. So we have the illustration right here, 12a and 12v. Since I not a single cat petted have, or in English, since I have not petted a single cat. In B, since I the cat not pet, or in its proper way, since I do not pet the cat. We can even find a related alteration in English. Consider complex verbs like blow up. With full NPs, the direct object can either precede or follow the participle up, like in 13a and 13b. But pronouns, the only nouns in English to morphologically express case, must appear in the middle of the complex verb in 13c and d. In 13a, I blew up the building. In B, I blew the building up. In C, I blew up it. Or in D, we have I blew it up. Now let's move on to part 4, the transitives reprise. Let's now return to the transitive verbs. For verbs where the final argument is a PP and CP, we have a straightforward account of where all the arguments get theta, role, and case. First, let's look at a verb like tell, which can take both a DP and a CP complement. First, we have the theta grids for the little v and the root 10. Given a sentence like, Nate told Brandon that Kimberly drove an SUV, we have a D-structure tree as in 21, leaving aside the details of tense inflection. So here's the illustration of number 21. The root moves through agro and into cos. It must stop in argo on its way up to the little v in order to meet the MLC. The DP Brandon shifts to the specifier of agro OP to get case. A similar analysis can be applied to verbs like put, which take a PP, second complement, as in the sentence, Brianna put the mug on the counter. We have last the transitive here, which is more difficult. This is the case of give. Give allows two people argument structures. One has a DP theme and a PP goal. As in, Jason gave the tape recorder to Maria. This version of give presumably has structure like that in number 28. The other version of give takes two DP complements. Jason gave Maria the tape recorder. There are two puzzles with this kind of construction. First, we have the issue of the source of accusative case for the goal. Second, and more curious, is the fact that the indirect object goal precedes the direct object theme. If the theme moves to the specifier of argo P of for case, then the goal must be moving to higher position than that. One possibility that has been proposed is that goals can be introduced by two distinct mechanisms. One is via preposition like to, the other is using another like verb, this one meaning locate or possess instead of cause. Each DP moves to its case position, and the root gives moves through agro, locate agrio into cause. This gives the correct surface order. There are, of course, a number of open issues here, not least of which the relationship between the two structures for the verb give. However, these complex split VP structures seem to provide a mechanism for explaining the hierarchical properties of the transitive verbs and the case marking of their argument, and provide an explanation for such diverse facts as double object constructions and object shift. So we have here ideas, rules, and constraints introduced in this chapter. Number 1. Light verbs or little v, the higher part of a complex verb, usually meaning cause or locate in the case of the transitive double object verbs. Roman number 2. Object shift, the phenomenon where accusatively marked objects shift leftwards. The argo, the head that checks accusative case in the split VP system. Next, we have some challenge problem sets. So we have here challenge problem set 1, again, the word again. As discussed in Venn Stechow and Beck Johnson 2004, the following sentence is ambiguous. John opened the door again. It can have either the following meanings. First, the door was opened before, perhaps opened by Susan, and now it's open again due to John's action. While on the other hand, number 2, John opened the door before and he did it again. Next, we have the challenge problem set 2, which is the AGRS. In the chapter above, we propose agro and agrio. There may well be evidence that case is not assigned by TP but by an AGRSP. In particular, it has been proposed that the EPP is a property of TP, but case is assigned lower in the structure, in an AGRSP. That would be all for expanded VPs. I hope you learned something from my discussion. Till next time.